There we go. All right, I should be coming through on Spaces now. We got the Discord fired up. I just need to get some more announcements out, and we'll get this thing rock and rolling. Meanwhile, for those of you hanging out with us here on X, thanks for tuning in. This is our Monday developer Q&A with the Quai Network engineering team. Should have Jonathan on today. But if you want to come ask questions, hop into our Discord. This is actually simulcasted from Discord onto X. So I will pin a link for you guys to be able to click right in here in a second. Let's just snag that. And we'll jam with the community over in Discord. So if you're hanging out with us there in Discord, feel free to drop any and all questions you may have pertaining to building here on Quai Network. I've been doing some live streams of some building sessions. Hopefully those have been helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about that, about launching dApps or smart contracts on Quai Network. It's relatively easy. Actually, there was a builder the other day who got a complete dApp working with ethers, which is super cool. We have obviously our own wallet and SDK over here at Quai Network, but it looks like you can use ethers in your dApp to interact directly through the Pelagus wallet. So that's pretty cool. Not something that honestly I had seen before. So plenty of ways to get started building here at Quai Network. We are an EVM compatible chain, so try to just port what you got over and see what happens. Obviously, we're here to help. As always, we do these dev Q&As every Monday. We also have a developer Discord server where the team and the community help each other out. So I'll drop a link to that in the chat here. Again, folks, if you're hanging out with us on X, we are actually simulcasting from Discord. That link should be pinned up at the top there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. To get us rock and rolling, Kishore was asking me how my weekend was. I'm excited for Jonathan to join us. He just got back from Singapore, but I had a pretty busy weekend, I'll admit. There was a lot of running around. We drove all the way up to Dallas from Austin this weekend to see some friends who had some stuff going on. Caught a hockey game though. That was pretty cool. Huge hockey fan. Colorado Avalanche lost to the Dallas Stars by 1 goal with like 2 minutes left on the clock. It was ridiculous. Good game. Good game. Preseason. There's a lot of penalties. There was even a fight. So it was a good weekend. That aside, though, let's dive into some of these questions. I pinged Jonathan, so he should be on his way. He is a little under the weather, though, so we'll get some updates from him in Singapore as soon as we're able. But one simple question from Kishore to kick off the AMA here. How was the Token 2049 experience? Oh, yeah. Dang. We need Jonathan for that one. Yeah, we launched a whole lot while Jonathan was out there in Singapore. Oh, there he is. All right, we'll get him an invite so he can come up and speak on stage. There he is. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing, sir? Yep. Mic check. Me? Hey, there we go. Do we still got you?
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go. Rock and roll. Appreciate you joining us. So we were already diving into questions. I'll just kick it off with how you doing? How's your week been? We all were kind of tracking that you were out in Singapore last week, so maybe we'll just start with that. You want to give us an update on how things went out in Singapore?
Yeah, sure. I was in Singapore last week. I worked I went to Token 2049, and the goal was to meet as many people as possible, partners, form some partnerships with KOLs, investors, different crypto projects, catch up on some partnerships we have in the pipeline currently. And it went well. Like, I met a lot of people. I met Andrew Hayes. I met the CEO of Kraken. I met some other cool KOLs, some marketing people, media people. It was overall a great time. I recommend anybody who's super into crypto to go to these conferences and go to the side events. The side events is where you meet the cool people, in my experience.
Boom. Rock on, man. Favorite moment from Token 2049 Singapore?
And that's tough. I really enjoyed the Kraken event. There was like a Kraken party at a nightclub. That was probably my favorite. That was a lot of fun.
Rock
I
on.
also met Dan Held. Also, if you guys know who Dan Held is, he's a Bitcoiner. I met him at Bitcoin Wizards party.
Oh, that's right. There was wait, was it Wizards or Taproot Wizards? Which one was it?
Yeah, Taproot Wizards.
Nice. Rock on, man. All right, pro tip for anybody looking to go to Singapore next year.
Go to all the side events you can. I went to probably like 3 or 4 per day. And I highly recommend getting there at least a day early and leaving at least a day after. That gives you enough time to like go to all the stuff. But sign up for as many side events as you can, and go to as many as you can. I signed up for just like a ton of them, and I went to the ones I got into. But I would say sign up to the events early. If you sign up early, you're more likely to get approved, and then you can go to more of them. But yeah, basically just go to as many side events as possible. They're all great, especially ones where there are speakers, because usually you can ask the speaker questions afterwards. They usually stick around for a little bit to talk.
Heck yeah. Yeah, a little bit easier to get access to them at those side events. Great tips, man. All right, last question for me. What did you think of Arthur Hayes? How was that conversation?
He is an interesting guy for sure. I think he primarily likes to make money above all else. So he's not, like Bitcoiners are idealistic. A lot of them. Well, I don't know about now. They used to be. I don't know. Nowadays, I think people all just want a number to go up. But Bitcoiners, used to be idealistic. They were trying to build a future for financial independence, independence from fiat money. I don't think Arthur Hayes shares that vision so much. I thought he did, but he does. I don't think he does. I think his main goal in life is to accumulate more dollars. Any means possible, by any means possible. And so he invests in companies that he thinks will make him dollars. And like, fair enough. So I told him about the Quai and our new subsidy mechanism, buyback mechanism. He liked that. He really likes buybacks. That's like one thing he talked about at length in his it was like a fireside chat. I actually saw him twice. I saw him at 2 different fireside chats, but both times, he talked about how stablecoins are the future and how buyback programs are the future. Bring value to token holders, obviously. So, Quai brings both. We have our own protocol built stablecoin, and we have, we're building a buyback program for the Quai token, using subsidy from other blockchains. So he likes both. Obviously, it's going to take a while for him to like fully get on board with all of it, but he liked both. He said they were both cool ideas, and messaging him on Twitter to try to get him to be more interested, potentially an investment. I think that's the biggest, contribution he would give is an investment from Maelstrom, which is his venture capital firm.
Right, right. Man, appreciate that. The community is asking here, what was your experience talking about SOAP? Did you just share it with Arthur Hayes, or did you get any other good feedback while you were over there in Singapore about Project SOAP?
I talked about Project Soap to just about anyone who would listen. Um, because
My
it's a good
man.
idea. I like the idea. It wasn't my idea, but I like the idea. There are many ideas that Dr. K comes up with that I like. So I talked to a lot of people about it. Most people are very happy about it. Some miners were like, you should just stick to GPU mining, which is fair. Obviously, they don't want to get kicked out of the rewards. I mean, obviously, they're still going to get rewards. So I just had to explain that, the rewards are actually going to go up as a whole. Miner profit will increase overall. So, just need to reassure them that. But no, I talked to just about anyone. So I talked to a lot of Kraken people as well. A lot of, BD, head of listings. I also talked to the head of listings at Coinbase about it. So I talked to a lot of people about it. I also talked about our stable asset. I don't want to say stable coin. It's more of like a flat coin. But I talked about a lot. I talked about SOAP, and the reviews were overall positive. People like it. They like the idea. They're waiting for it to get implemented to see how it works. Obviously, most people were a little bit skeptical, but they love the idea. So we just have to build it. We have to put it into work. And when it works in practice, I think the people that I talk to will be a lot more interested in following up.
Heck yeah. Well, good work, man. I'm so happy that you went. So happy. Alan also got out to Korean Blockchain Week. I think it'll pay off in dividends for us long term. So I know the community's super bullish on all these conferences as well. And yeah, really appreciate you sharing that. Thanks, Jonathan. All right, any other?
Interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was wearing a Quai shirt to every event I went to. I have a bunch of them. Most of the times, I would have at least one person come up to me and say, "Hey, I've heard that before," and that was really reassuring. I think since we've been around for a long time, Quai has been around at least as an idea since 2018 and as a brand since 2021. So we've been around for a while. A lot of people know about us. I think we need to change them knowing about us to them investing. To them participating in the ecosystem. So we need to build apps for them to use. We need to build out our DeFi ecosystem. I think it's, going to take some time, obviously, but I was very pleased to see that everywhere I went with a Quai shirt, I would at least get somebody coming up to me and saying, "Hey, like, I know what that is. I've heard of that." And then, they'd have a bunch of questions and they're all curious about it. So I just had to say that. I think a lot of people know about it. I don't think a lot of people know what it is. So I think, we need to improve that.
Heck yeah. No, good point, man. That's I'm taking that as a call to arms for our community builders out there. I know we got a lot of good projects cooking, but also I don't think a lot of builders potentially realize how long we've been around. So if you do build on Quai, you're likely to bump into folks in real life who have actually heard about it. So I think that's a huge opportunity for everybody. So good point, man. Love that. Awesome.
Yeah, it was cool to see for sure.
Rock on. Heck yeah. Well, we got some questions running through here, guys. This is our weekly dev Q&A. If you're hanging out with us on X, we are simulcasting from Discord. So come drop into our Discord event. The link is pinned up above on X here. But we got one from our friend in the trenches, Steph Curdy, is asking, why do we think about the price of Chi to Quai in USD terms? Good question. Let's see here. Yeah, do you have any thoughts, Jonathan? I think it's just easier for people to understand.
Until there's a market set up, it's going to be a little volatile, I think. It's just going to take time for market dynamics to kick in. Right now I noticed that it is 80 cents, looks like, to the dollar. So, it's below the protocol or the miner creation rate, so probably not profitable for miners to create Chi at the moment, or to mine Chi. So there's also the halving in effect, so that I think might have changed the dynamics of the controller because we halved the Chi to Quai ratio a couple months ago. I think it's better suited question for Dr. K. I do note that it is under $1 though. That is unfortunate. I think the controller should be kicking it in to make it more profitable to mine Chi right now, or to convert from Quai to Chi. That is, I'm not sure actually.
Yeah, no, good question. I just like seeing it in USD terms because I think a lot of miners like, they look at Quai and Chi pricing, and I think it's encouraging that they have a choice in that Chi. Not knowing what the emissions is off the top of my head, it could be more profitable, but it sounds like it's not right now. Is that what you're saying, Jonathan?
Yeah, if you were to buy, usually if Chi is below a dollar, if you were to buy Quai converted to Chi, or sorry, buy Chi converted to Quai. That's right. So if you buy Chi and convert it to Quai, generally that'd be a profitable move. But the controller's not pricing it in so that it is profitable. So you just have to wait till the controller prices it in so that you can buy Chi, convert to Quai, and make that a profitable move. So I guess you can buy Chi now and then wait for the profitability to come in and then convert. So I mean, controller questions are usually best asked to Dr. K because he designed the controller. I didn't design the controller. I didn't write the code for it either. Actually, that just wasn't part of the work that I do. So I can't say exactly why it's priced at 80 cents. I can say that the hash rate probably increased, and the price increased, and maybe the controller just hasn't taken that into account yet.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah, good question, Steph. I'm just gonna highlight what we know today. So one chi to Quai is about 18.3 in the protocol. But you can also swap on Quai swap, and it looks like one chi will net you about 20.5 Quai. And I don't have a graph on the hash rate, but let me look at difficulty real quick. That's not a long enough time frame. Anywho, okay. Well, those are the stats. Great question, Steph. Let's definitely bring that up on Wednesday. There's definitely a lot of thought that's going into that, so appreciate that. All right, rock and roll. Moving right along here. Kishore's got some NFT questions. The first one is, once Quai's cross-zone communication goes live, how could NFTs move between zones via wrapped representations? Oh man, good question. Honestly, I feel like I've put some thought into this, but not a whole lot. I know there's various models that developers could adopt. One would be some way of sharing state transition between zones, which is pretty complicated and probably requires a lot of cross-chain transactions. But wrapping the NFTs is an interesting idea. Jonathan, have you spent any time thinking about this?
There's a contract in the Solidity X contracts. You have to compile it with Solidity X. Yeah, it's called QRC 721X. That's the cross-chain NFT smart contract for when we do have multiple zones. Right now, it's obviously not applicable, but when we have two zones, this is the contract you want to use. I can paste the link.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I completely forgot about that. It's definitely a great I would say way to start thinking about it. I noticed, man, it's been a while since I've looked at that. But I feel like, that implementation, correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but effectively if somebody mints in zone one, that generates an external transaction to a sister contract on zone two that lets that contract know that an NFT's been minted. Did I explain that appropriately?
No, the minting is not related to. The minting doesn't require ETXs. What requires an ETX is when you transfer it across zones. So when you transfer some from zone one to zone two or something, that's when an ETX is generated.
Okay. All right. Just to follow up on that, then how does if minting happens on zone one, how does zone two become aware that those tokens exist?
They don't know that those tokens exist until they're transferred. So when zone one's contract sends an ETX to zone two's contract, that's when the NFT is burned on one and minted on the other.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. So in that model, then all the minting would happen on one zone, but then the contract supports transferring to the sister contracts on other zones.
Yeah, I think in the current implementation, all of the minting does happen on one zone, but you could modify it to have minting on multiple zones. That wouldn't be too difficult to do. You just have to limit the number of NFTs minted per zone and make it so that you don't have duplicates. But yeah, I mean, you could do it that way. But yeah, right now I think the implementation is minting on one zone, and then you can transfer to any one that's kind of in the contract.
Okay. Okay. Rock
I
and
mean,
roll.
there's like an admin that has to add new zones when they are created.
Right. And then pair up that new sister contract effectively.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Lots of different ways to think about that. I'm trying to remember if there are other NFT projects that are cross chain. I think oh, what was it called? There was a Panda NFT project. I think they're leveraging layer zero though. So a little different, but those will definitely be some models that I expect developers to look to when that becomes a possibility here on Quai Network. Great question, Kishore. Follow up here. Could the same NFT contract logic eventually exist across zones, each handling local minting but syncing metadata globally? That's kind of what we're talking about. But it sounds like, the easiest, or I would say the least overhead would be to, effectively establish what tokens can be minted in each shard, right? That way, there's no conflict there. Hopefully that makes sense. Rock on.
Yeah, you just have to make sure there's no duplicates. That's all. But you can do it. You can do local minting or on different mints on each zone. That's totally fine. You wouldn't have a global metadata though. Metadata would be per zone.
Nice. Nice. Great questions. And just to highlight that for builders out there, what we're looking for on the roadmap is really sustained TPS. Once we achieve, I think we stated something like 400 or 500 TPS in the past. Once we see that on mainnet, we will be upgrading testnet, so you guys can take a hack at it. Interim, probably the best way to prepare for that is to use like an upgradable proxy pattern. If you want smart contracts you launch today to support multi-chain in the future, just use a upgradable proxy pattern, and then you'll be able to upgrade that contract later to, you know, interact with those sister contracts.
Yeah, it's a good idea to do upgradability.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually built an upgradable ERC20 last Thursday. So I'll share that repo down below, but you guys should be able to peek it on my Twitter account as well. It's pretty simple, not too complicated, but rock on. All right, while I go dig that up, Jonathan Kishore wants to know, how does Asia compare to the West as far as crypto events are concerned?
Um, my experience is similar. I mean, there's people who invest, there's people who build, there's people who do, marketing, KOLs. They've got all that there. A lot more Asian looking people, I guess. I was kind of standing out as like the white guy, but there were a lot of white people there too. So
Well, you're also
very
super
similar
tall.
overall, though. What's that?
I said you're also incredibly tall.
Yeah, I was definitely taller than most people there for sure. I don't know. I mean, I think it's similar. I mean, it depends. Like, okay, so I went to an OKX event, right? And that event was kind of strange because all of the OKX like listing team and BD team and everything, they were all sitting in like the VIP section, like with the tables and stuff, and they weren't talking to anyone, which I found kind of strange. Because usually when you go to an event for an exchange or for a company or something, their BD team is running around talking to people because that's the whole point of the event. But this one, they weren't doing that. They were kind of just like sitting alone amongst themselves, and I found that kind of strange. But overall, the events are similar. If you go to Token 2049, then you compare it to Bitcoin 2025, like it's similar, very, very similar. I mean, Token 2049 is a little bit like bigger in terms of people. There's more people there. And there were there was a lot going on. There were like zip lines in the middle of the expo hall, you know?
Holy cow.
So I think there's just like a lot more than the companies do, or the sponsors do, but like it's very similar. A lot of security too, actually. At Token 2049, you go through airport style security when you enter the venue. So that was also different.
Oh, interesting. Did they have like the full body scanners and whatnot?
Yeah. Metal detector, they wand you down. They search through bags.
Interesting. All right. Good takes, good questions. Moving on here, Adi wants to know, can AI agents work on Quai Network? Short answer, yes.
Absolutely. I'm upgrading our AI agent to interact with the blockchain. I'm currently getting through the process of hosting it locally, so I don't have to pay for credits. But once I get the local hosting working for like an open source model, I'm definitely going to give it tools, and I'm going to start getting it to interact with our chain more. But yeah, no, absolutely. There's an API that it can use. You just have to build out like some tools for it to call. But right now, like for example, our agent right now can do faucet transactions. And it can also query like all kinds of data. So you can ask it like conversion data. You can ask it like the rate, block data. You know, it can get a lot of data from the chain. The only thing it can submit right now are faucet transactions, but you know, soon it'll be able to do more things. And also want to get it hooked up into X so it can tweet. That's all stuff that I'm working on. I think it'll be best to host it locally because I'm expecting it to have a lot of usage, especially if it's, you know, reading tweets and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of compute. So I'd rather host it locally. I have a bunch of GPUs here. So I'm just going to build that out first. But yeah, the answer is absolutely an AI agent, you know, with the proper tooling could interact with our chain.
Heck yeah. Out of curiosity, Jonathan, do you have any idea what local model you might try out first?
Probably the Asian or Chinese ones like Quen or DeepSeek. There's also GLM. GLM is supposed to be really good. I don't have enough VRAM to host the whole GLM 4.5. That one's like, I think it's like 200 gigs of VRAM. I have like 100 and something gigs. I have like maybe 110 gig or something. I also have RAM though. So I haven't really tried it with combining RAM and VRAM. Usually you want to host the model entirely on VRAM for speed, but
Right.
you can kind of slice and dice it with these new open source tooling. So I think the Quen would be a good start because Quen is pretty neutral. You know, another problem with the current models, it uses OpenAI, and like that's not neutral for a lot of things. So Quen is a little bit more neutral. I think it won't answer questions about Tiananmen Square, but it's otherwise a little bit more neutral. I really want to get a model that's like, you know, fully neutral, that will just unbiased, like just give you the answer that it knows rather than trying to like make it politically correct or something. But it's even in the open source world, it's actually hard to find models that are, I think it's called obliterated. Obliteration is the process of removing, those kind of safety checks, from a model. And oftentimes that kind of like kills their brain a little bit when you do that. So I don't know. That's still like a topic of research for sure, like in deep learning and stuff.
Heck yeah. Well, hey, Adi, if you got any tips or want to build your own, have at it, man. I was messing around with Llama like a while back, and then I just found out recently, or at least I heard on a podcast, OpenAI has their own, or their own open source model you can run locally. But
Yeah, they do, but you know, like I said, it's not going to be unbiased. It's not going to
right,
be neutral. It's going to still be like GPT-4 probably. I think they open sourced basically GPT-4, which is first of all a lot dumber than GPT-5, but even so, like it's kind of censored, right? So I'd
yeah,
rather not use that one.
yeah, fair, rock on. Okay, moving right along here. We got some SOAP questions. Let's see here. First one is, during testnet, will the team simulate external donor inflows to observe buy lock dynamics before mainnet activation? Oh, that's a good question. I
I
think,
don't think we're going to be testing the locking I think we're just going to be testing the chain integrations. So when you submit a block, is it a valid work share? If it's a valid work share, you're getting paid for it correctly. And then if it's a valid block on the donor chain, is that being submitted to their testnet? So I think that's what we're testing. We're not going to be testing the locking or staking mechanism yet, or the buybacks even. I mean, like, you can't buy back testnet Quai anyways. So.
Right. Yeah, good point. Good point. Next question here. I like this one. Is there a dashboard planned to visualize subsidy to buy to lock flow so users can understand how SOAP impacts daily Quai liquidity?
Yes, absolutely. Once we finish the work for the testnet and mainnet activation, we will be building a dashboard. That's totally necessary.
Absolutely. Okay, man, great questions, Kishore. How is share inclusion frequency balanced to prevent bloat from multi-algo share submissions while maintaining fair participation? Oh, that's an interesting question.
So, yeah, I mean, basically, it's going to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 between Kapow or ProgPow. That's kind of the same, and then script and SHA-256. So, if you submit more than 1/3 of the last n blocks, I think 100 or something, like if you submit too many shares from one algo, they won't all be accepted. We're only going to accept the ones that are within the limits. So there's like these limits that are applied to each algorithm. And if you start submitting work shares, too many work shares from one, you just won't be able to submit more, which kind of sucks. But it's also a moving average, right? So it's not like you're shut out forever. It's just until the moving average catches up. It's still a work in progress, though.
Got it. Rock on. All right. Next one here. When subsidy tokens are sold, is the Quai buyback executed via DEX, liquidity pools, centralized exchanges, or via an off-chain routing system connected to a centralized exchange liquidity, or some internal market maker? Dr. K covered this briefly. I think it was on a Quai Friday or a Tech AMA. But if I remember correctly, we are looking at some market makers to help us distribute those buybacks across multiple centralized exchanges. Does that sound correct, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super privy to that part, to be honest. But yes, to my understanding, it's going to be a market maker that runs the market on multiple exchanges, namely Mexi, KDIO. And then when we have stablecoins in the system, you can do it on a DEX, which is, more transparent. But until we have stablecoins, we have to use centralized exchanges because, you can't buy Quai on a DEX easily unless you have Qi. So, as a result, we're going to be using centralized exchanges only for now, and there will be a market maker that does it.
Rock on. Man, these are some good questions. How does SOAP determine the optimal split between burned Quai and streamed rewards to lockers? Is it adaptive or fixed by governance? Man, great question.
I don't know the answer.
I don't think either of us know the answer to that right now. But stay tuned, folks. My gut tells me it will be adaptive, but it probably depends on a few things. So keep your eyes peeled for that. All right. How is the time deferred reward schedule implemented? Linear vesting or exponential decay or block-based streaming contract? Oh, man, another good question.
I mean, the reward schedule is the same as what it is currently. I think, do you mean like how much Quai you get or how long it takes to unlock? Because those are different questions. Like, how much Quai you get is determined by the ratio. So there's like a ratio of hashes to Quai, so to speak, that we're starting with that, then can be adjusted. It's like a difficulty adjustment, right? So as more hash rate comes online, the difficulty has to adjust, which, affects how much Quai you get. To start though, we're having like a comparator, or like, it's like I guess like a matching. I don't know what the right word is, but a mapping is the right word, mapping. So there's like a mapping of, how many Kapow hashes to Quai, how many SHA hashes to Quai, and how many script hashes to Quai. that we start with that we're going to kind of hard code, and then it will become adaptive after that. But that, I don't know if that actually answered that question. That's just what I think the answer that he's looking for is.
Yeah, Kishore states amount of Quai was what he was looking for there. So I think we answered that. Feel free to follow up,
Yeah,
Kishore.
there still will be a 2-week lockup, though, to be clear.
Yeah. Rock on. All right. Let's see here. Can donor chains specify different payout ratios, or is there a universal conversion mechanism for all participating algorithms? Specify different payout ratios. I think there's only
I
one.
think the answer is they cannot specify different payout ratios. There is a universal conversion mechanism for all algorithms. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Rock on. Moving right along here. Does SOAP use TWAP pricing? Oh, dang, I forget what that stands for. Time weighted average pricing for buybacks
Right.
to avoid slippage and manipulation during donor token liquidation.
We'll be using a TWAP for sure. Yep. That's also on the market maker.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was assuming. It's going to be on the market maker. Rock on. Can multiple donor chains contribute simultaneously, and how are their token inflows normalized to a common accounting unit before buying Quad? I think we've covered that. Let me know, Keisha.
I mean, you just have to convert them to USDT, right? So you sell BTC for USDT, and then you buy Quai with USDT. I think that's pretty much the process there.
Yep. Okay. Last one in this group. As donor rewards are market sold to buy Quai, how does SOAP manage exchange liquidity risk during periods of low Quai volume? Again, I think that's why we're using a market maker.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a great answer. It's just, the market maker is going to buy Quai a market, and like if there's not a lot of liquidity, and there's not going to be a lot of liquidity, and the price will go up. I mean, we're going to try to do a TWAP, right? So we're not just going to like spam market buy every time, but the TWAP basically reduces slippage. But like if there's no liquidity, there's no liquidity. Like if there's not somebody selling 1,000 Quai at 5 cents, then guess what? The price is going to go to the next bid, or the next ask actually. But yeah, I mean that's just how it works. It's not going to be we're not going to be able to like fine tune it super hard.
Nice. Awesome. Great questions, guys. Man, the chat is fire. Shout out to Kiri, sharing some alpha here on his app. Looks like encrypted group chats are working on talking. Congratulations, Kiri. Really looking forward to that.
I'm super interested to know how that works. That's like a very interesting thing. But like, I think it's for Quai, not for Chi. So I'm actually interested to see how it kind of works. I mean, is it like a data payload, I guess? I guess it probably is. It's probably in the data field of the transaction, like the encrypted data.
Right. Yeah, good question. Same, Kiri. Let us know your thoughts. Let's hear. Noah's asking, does the Quai team subscribe to Tealology? I think that's Peter Thiel. I'm not familiar with that. Are you familiar with that, Jonathan?
Trying to find the question so I can understand.
Oh, Peter Thiel's new religion.
I'm not religious. I will say personally, I'm a libertarian, and I subscribe to the majority of libertarian ideals. I'm idealistic in that respect. I want to replace fiat money with a better system. I am not a religious person. If it is an actual religion, then the answer is no.
I love the way you answered that. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Peter Thiel's new religion. I'll say I'm spiritual, but probably don't subscribe to any one or the other particularly. Interesting question, Noah. All right, next one from Noah here. What is stopping someone, excuse me, with a large global hash rate from taking over a local zone? Does hash need to be localized near the zone in the network?
I mean, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Good question. I think Dr. K can probably answer that better than me, but I'll take a stab at it. So yeah, the way Quai works is it's we have these zones, we have regions and primes, so it's a hierarchy. And when a transaction goes into a zone, it eventually rolls up to region and prime. So if I am the beneficiary of some funds, if somebody's sending me money for a sailboat or whatever, a car or whatever, I want to wait long enough so that even if there's a centralized party holding control of the zone, that transaction won't be reversed. So let's say, for the sake of discussion, that somebody owns the zone entirely, but the rest of the network is decentralized and they don't own the whole network. Now, if somebody has 51% of the whole network, there's nothing we can do. That's unfortunately just like a part of proof of work. That's just like a downside of proof of work, where some centralized party controls 51% of the whole network, that you can consider the network effectively compromised because they can do a 51% attack. Now, if it's not the case and there's just somebody who holds majority control of a zone, you would wait until either a region block or a prime block is found in that zone, and that there is a confirmation or a block on top of that region or prime block. Depends on the amount that's being transferred. You can make a calculation how much entropy is per dollar, and that's actually Chi helps with that. So if you're buying something in Chi, you can actually measure exactly how much Chi is worth in terms of like block entropy or block weight. I think there's an API for that already in the RPC API, but it kind of tells you how much you should wait, how long you should wait. Now, if you wait a prime block, that's like the most amount of work. If somebody builds a prime block on top of that prime block, then you have a lot of assurance, a lot. Even if there's a 51% attacker in the zone, the ability for that attacker to reverse a prime block is very low, because, like I said, the zone is a subsection of the network. Right? It's a smaller amount of the hash rate, and as a result, if the entire hash rate is building upon a block, it is very difficult for even a 51% attacker in a zone to reverse it. So that is usually enough if you wait for a prime block to be confirmed in that zone, and then another prime block being mined on top of it. Now that could take some time. So if you're doing like very large transactions, I think that would take a minute, I think. It depends on how many zones there are, right? If there's a lot of zones, I think it could take like 5 minutes to get full confirmation in prime. But that's the reason that prime and region exists. So you have these different levels of confirmation that you might want to wait for, but you don't need to wait for. That's important. So if you just want to buy a cup of coffee, you do that in 5 seconds, and the merchant has pretty good guarantee that that's not going to get reversed, because it would be expensive for the attacker to do that, and it would be more expensive for the attacker, even if they have 51%. It would be more expensive for the attacker to undo with the block that they mined with your transaction in it than the transaction amount itself, right? And we're talking like a few $100s here. If the transaction is $1,000 plus, then you do have to wait longer than 5 seconds, likely for like a region block or something. Again, that's dependent on the hash rate of the whole network. What I'm saying is kind of subjective. It depends on the hash rate of the network. But that's kind of the answer to that question. Now, in terms of censorship, that's a separate discussion. I think, there's two things here. So the first thing is, how long do you wait to be, certain of a transaction not getting reversed, which is the answer I just gave. If you're worried about censorship, if you notice miner censoring your transactions, what you would do is you would move your funds to a different zone. So if you're in zone 2 and a miner is not including your transactions, or if you notice that a miner is refusing to include your transactions, all you need is a single block. You need one miner to include your transaction. And if the miner has 90% of the hash rate, like that 10% might still include your transaction. So in that case, you would probably want to move your funds to a different zone and see if, you can work with the miner there. I mean, censorship is likely going to be a single zone, because, censoring the entire network, again, will require 51% of the hash of the whole network. So there likely is a zone you can use that is not censored. But obviously that does make it difficult for certain people who perhaps might, for whatever reason become censored. I think, there's more discussion to be had around this. But my current recommendation in that scenario is to just move your funds out of that zone, because you can still use the network. It's just you'd be paying a little bit more in transaction fees maybe, and you'd be a bit more latent, meaning your latency relative to other peers might be higher because you're in a different geographic zone, but you'd still be able to use the network, you'd still be able to, pay people. So that's my recommendation in that case.
Got it. Thanks, Jonathan. Great question, Noah. Actually, let me know if I'm thinking about this correctly, Jonathan. I mean, ultimately, every proof of work network runs this risk. One of the things I like to call out is that with Quai, we have, work shares, and then again, in the future at scale, we have multiple zones. So I kind of look at that as, mitigations to the risk, ultimately. Do you think about it the same way?
There's risk involved in using a decentralized money system. To mitigate the risk, there's various mechanisms that should be communicated clearly. The first one is waiting long enough, and depending on the value of the transaction. And then secondarily is moving your funds to a different zone or a different chain if you experience any kind of censorship. I see he had up here, what if it's a country censorship from China where waiting for the prime is impossible? So the way Quai works is there will always be prime blocks in every zone at some rate. Whether that prime block is mined by, that central party that's censoring you or not is, a difficult question to answer. But even if it is, you just have to get an ETX in a zone block, and that will get rolled up into prime. So it's not very difficult to do, but it does require some patience if you are like the target of some kind of censorship. But again, the whole idea is that when there's so much zone, the hash rate of the network will necessarily increase. So you shouldn't think of it like, halving the hash rate. I guess in the short term, that might be what happens. Like, let's say we're at 1,000 TPS in a zone. The hash rate is, 1 terahash or whatever. We add a new zone. Some of the hash rate will move over, but at the same time, we'll have more hash rate because we're doubling the block rate. And that, number one, increases the transactions per second, but it also increases Quai emissions per second, logarithmically, not linearly. But because of those two increases, the reward rate for miners will increase. The profitability for miners will increase. You'll actually see an increase in hash rate, network wide when you add a new zone. So you shouldn't think of it like, we're reducing the hash rate per zone when we add new ones. What actually happens is when you add a new one, you're actually increasing the total network hash rate. So you're still going to have a difficult time taking over a zone. For example, like Bitcoin right now has a huge amount of hash rate. It's like millions of dollars per day. And if Bitcoin added a new chain, like in our case, if we added a new chain and we're doing millions of dollars per day, that second chain would also be doing millions of dollars per day in rewards. So I think it's important to note that, that would increase the hash rate of the network. It wouldn't reduce the hash rate. So that's just something to consider. But, there will always be prime blocks. I mean, to answer, his question, there will always be prime blocks. That's just the nature of the network. If you mine a prime block and don't submit it, you're losing money for yourself and you're losing security for the chain. But, I don't think a miner would choose not to include a prime block in their zone. I think that's like a disincentive. Like they would be losing money doing that. So I think there's a lot to consider here, obviously, but I think, namely if we have this issue, there's solutions to it.
Boom. Yeah, I think that was a key point at the end there, right? Like ultimately, nobody's going to be censoring prime blocks.
You would have to, so to undo a prime block, you basically need 51% of the whole network to do that.
Right.
That's how difficult it is, because with work shares and everything, like you basically need 51% of the network-wide hash rate to undo a prime block. And by the time we're in multiple zones, we will have the same hash rate as Bitcoin. And that, it'll be very, very difficult to undo those blocks.
Boom. Man, I love thinking about those problems. Great questions, Noah. Really appreciate that. All right. Moving right along here, we got some more questions about SOAP from Kishore. Thanks, Kishore, for collecting these from the community. Will the protocol be modular enough for other proof-of-work networks to adopt SOAP as a plugin to their own economic design? Great question.
Likely not. You need a very fast block rate for it to work. Very low latency across the network, and you need a very fast block rate. For most proof of work networks, I just don't think this would work. It might work for Caspa. Now they have a block DAG. It's different than our architecture. I actually talked to Shai about this a little bit, and he was like, doing this with Caspa would be a lot more difficult than doing it with Quai because we have the work shares, and it's easier to have like some kind of weight mapping, different algorithm weight mapping than it is for Caspa to do this because they do a different kind of weighting mechanism. It's a lot more complicated. So although Caspa, I think, could do this, I think the implementation would be a lot more complicated. For most other chains, though, I just don't think they're fast enough.
Yeah, that's where my mind immediately meant. You have to be as fast, if not even faster, if that's possible, than Quai Network. So, great question. If subsidy token rewards are volatile, does Quai staking APR fluctuate block to block, or is it smooth over epochs? Oh man, I haven't thought about this. Good question.
I don't think we've given too much thought to how the staking works, because, like you said, the token rewards are volatile. So, like the rewards, they depend on two things. Number one is hash rate, obviously, which is variable, and number two is the variance in the block rewards. So when you try to mine Bitcoin, you're only going to get a block once a month, maybe, or something. I mean, it takes a long time. So there's a lot of variance in that. If we're mining Bitcoin Cash, it's probably easier. If we're mining Litecoin, it's way easier. So there's a lot of variance involved depending on what we're mining. And so the APR is going to fluctuate depending on our rewards. So I would say, I don't know about fluctuate block to block, but it will definitely fluctuate maybe like day to day as we, send rewards into the contract. Like we're going to be buying Quai Market, sending it into the contract. So it's going to be fluctuating for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it will also fluctuate depending on how much Quai is locked. So.
Yeah, that's also true. Anytime somebody adds or withdraws, the APR will change.
Right. A lot of variables there. Good question though. I like to see the community think about these problems. All right. For Litecoin plus Doge merge mining inside of SOAP, are subsidy blocks validated independently per chain, or does Oxpow handle both with a single header? I don't know much about the Litecoin to Doge merge mining. My gut tells me it's in that single header. Do you know anything, Jonathan?
Yeah, I need to review the implementation again. My understanding is that there's a header, there is the Oxpow in the header. It's all one block. You can verify. You just get like a Quai block, and you can verify all this stuff with the header. And then the subsidy block is like kind of in the header, and then it's submitted to its parent donor chain. And all of the information needed to validate it is in one kind of object. So I think that answered that question. It's all verifiable in one object, in one block.
Nice. All right. Moving right along here. Once more subsidy chains are added, will miners choose which ones to merge mine, or is SOAP auto optimizing per pool?
Yes, miners will always choose which ones to merge mine. There's no auto optimizing mechanism. If you have an ASIC, you're going to mine ASIC. SHA. If you have a script ASIC, you're going to mine scripts. Litecoin, that's Litecoin and Dogecoin, which are actually merge mined together, by the way. And then if you have a GPU, you're going to mine Kapow. And then if we had a new, algorithm, like you're going to need that hardware to mine it. Most, like I would say, about 90% of the algorithms out there are ASICs, so you're going to need that hardware device. So there's no really easy way to auto switch unless you have all the devices. But I don't think most miners have all the devices. Maybe the big ones do. Maybe that could be useful for them.
Right. Right. Yeah. Good point. I was thinking the same. Ultimately, miners make their choice with their capital investment in their hardware. Rock on. All right. Last one in this group. Could SOAP selling large subsidy rewards to buy Quai distort those markets? Dun dun dun.
Yeah, eventually. I mean, not in the short term, but eventually, I'm sure it will make a big effect. I mean, if we're at like a $2-3 billion market cap, the hash rate is going to be pretty extreme. First of all, we would have, if we're at higher hash rate or higher market cap than Ravencoin, then we basically have full control of the rewards from Ravencoin. So I mean that's already pretty big, right? If we're at 1-2 billion, I think Ravencoin market cap might be 500 million. I might be wrong about that. But if we're a higher market cap than Ravencoin, we likely have control over the majority of the rewards, the majority of the hash rate. I mean that's already pretty significant. But then Bitcoin's the next target, right? I mean. It's going to have a large effect when we become large. Obviously, it's going to take time. In the short term, I don't think it'll have much of an effect.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Short term, not much of an effect. Long term with hash rates and emissions, yeah, definitely. All right, rock and roll. We're coming up on time here. We got Gabriel in the house. Howdy, Gabriel. He's got a question about the mining algorithm. Are we switching Quai's mining algorithm to Kapow? If yes, why not sooner? Man, great question. I think the short answer is yes, but we have a phased approach here. Do you have any thoughts to share on that, Jonathan?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the answer is we don't want to force miners to switch immediately. We're giving them a little bit of time to do that. Again, it really is just changing the miner. So you stop using the ProgPow, you use the Kapow miner. That's literally just shutting down your miners and then restarting it with a new software, which should be straightforward. But unfortunately, if we were to force them to do that at some block height, what you would see is a huge drop off in hash rate because miners are very forgetful. They probably would forget to restart their rigs. Most miners just set it and forget it. They don't think about updating their nodes because usually they don't even run nodes. I think a lot of miners use pools, and pools, the pools are very responsive, to be clear. I mean, they will restart their nodes when there's an update, but that's not all up to the pool. It's up to the miner itself to actually restart their miner with, new software. So you would see a massive drop off in hash rate if you had an immediate, forceful move to a different algorithm. So we're doing it gradually. We're going to give them some time to switch over. It will eventually become unprofitable to mine with ProgPow. That's kind of the idea. So eventually they'll be forced to move over because it won't be profitable to mine with ProgPow. And then after that, it'll be not accepted at all.
Got it. Just a quick clarification on Gabriel's question here. He means, why did we choose ProgPow in the first place? Why didn't we go with Kapow out the gate? I don't have any insight to that. Do you, Jonathan?
Actually, I don't remember. That's a good question. I am trying to think why we chose one over the other. I think it's possibly because, Kapow made changes. The Ravencoin developers made changes to ProgPow, and we didn't fully understand what changes they made. Now we do. We understand that those changes are very minimal. But back then, we wanted to use the original ProgPow because it was audited, because it was tested. Obviously, Kapow is also stress tested. But we were risk averse. I mean, we weren't trying to choose something that hadn't been audited, I guess. And the changes that they made were actually pretty minimal, but we didn't know that at the time. And if I could go back in time, I would say, yeah, just use Kapow. I mean, if I could go back in time, I would implement this all before mainnet, but I think it was just a mistake. We just, Carlos, Dr. K is calling me. But yeah, I think we just didn't entirely understand the changes that they made. That's all.
No sweat. No sweat. Great question, Gabriel. We'll let you catch that phone call, Jonathan. Any final thoughts for us before we wrap up today? Oh, you probably just picked up the phone. No sweat.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna have to. Okay. Yeah, you probably could hear the thing in the background, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I'll just call him back in a second. He probably just didn't realize I was on this. So yeah, I think right, like I said, we were mistaken about that. We didn't realize the changes that they made. Now we understand them better. Noah asks, are there any big prog coins that are bigger than Ravencoin? I think the answer is no. I think Ravencoin is the biggest. And yeah, there are. I think they added like the words or the letters KAW POW in the Kapow like mining loop. I think that's the main difference. It's pretty minimal. So yeah, we probably should have just gone with that to begin with. But yeah.
Hindsight's 2020. We wouldn't have discovered this if it wasn't for the journey in the first place. So that's why we're here. Really appreciate everybody tuning in today. Final thoughts, Jonathan, before I wrap it up?
No, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your questions. They're always appreciated. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask me in Discord. Just tag me, and I'll get back to you.
Heck yeah. See you guys all in the developer Discord. Keep your eyes peeled for some updates to the QU AI bot. Sounds like Jonathan's cooking something over there. We got a lot going on over here at Quai Network. We do this every Monday. So if you're hanging out with us on X, check the pin tweet up above, hop into the Discord server. The chat is a ton of fun. Many appreciations to Kishore, Noah, Adi, everybody, Gabriel, who asked questions today. A lot of stuff cooking over here. Tap into the Discord. We got a lot of builders building some cool stuff. Kiri was showing some alpha for Talkin', the first private chat app here at Quai Network. Really looking forward to following up with everybody tomorrow during our community space here on X. What did you do last week? Tune in tomorrow, same time, to hear from some of the other builders on Quai Network. And again, tap into the Discord. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in there. You don't want to miss it. We got a lot of stuff cooking over here. So, give the Quai Network account a follow. And go check out Kipper Money. Probably the easiest way to get your hands on some Quai. You get some free Quai just for onboarding. If you need more Quai, we are traded actively on Mexi, Gate.io, and LBank. You can swap on Let's Exchange. And we're on the Kraken roadmap, guys. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We also got Wormhole in the pipeline as well. I don't know another proof of work network that's unlocking something like, I know I keep saying that. You guys who are hanging out with us, hear that often, but it's huge, guys. You're still early here at Quai Network. Definitely, give this account a follow. Catch you guys, next Monday here in Discord. And I'll see you on the live streams as well every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. We're building something cool on Quai Network, sharing our GitHub repos along the way. So if you ever need any help building anything, hop into the Discord. Jonathan, Shikar, Carl, myself, the whole team's there. We were helping some folks out over the weekend as well. It's pretty easy, guys. You got a lot of options and opportunities to build something cool here at Quai Network. So appreciate the time today. I will catch you all next Monday for another round of this. Again, tomorrow we'll be doing a community space. We got Tech AMAs with Dr. K on Wednesday and another Quai Friday cooking for you guys as well. Let's see here. Oh yeah, go check out Zebek. We recently announced a partnership with them. It's a good way to be able to spend your Quai. And if you missed it, the Quai hardware tangent wallets should be shipping any day now. So hopefully you got your hands on that. Great way to onboard people into Quai Network and onto crypto, right? Friends, family that don't have any crypto yet. Really cheap hardware wallet, super easy to use, and then go hook them up with Zebek cards so they can go and spend it. So, those are the updates, for you today. Keep your eyes peeled for more. We got, the Kipper mobile app coming, upgrades to Blip and, every tool over here at Quai Network. It's on the roadmap. Team's working really hard. But super excited about Project Soap right now, turning mining sell pressure into token buying pressure, guys. Huge, another first in the proof of work space. So keep your eyes peeled for more updates to that. That should be rolling out real soon, along with dashboards, blog posts, all of the above. So you don't want to miss that. Definitely want to lock up your Quai as soon as you're able to. Take advantage of that sweet APR. And, yeah, I will catch you guys next week on Monday and tomorrow in What Did You Do Last Week? Appreciate the time today, everyone. We will see you then. Bye bye.